You know, the more that I play these games, the more shocked I am that this franchise even exists. Like, yeah, there are some seriously good games here, but when you look at the entire franchise's lineup, the more hit or miss these games noticeably become. And I think that's why Far Cry 6 fascinates me so much, because while almost every Far Cry game has either been a hit or a miss, Far Cry 6 is split directly in the middle. Far Cry 6 is so hit or miss, you'd be better off calling it an abusive boyfriend hooked on crack. Far Cry 6 is a bloated mess, struggling so hard with its identity that a lot of people, while loving it, can't seem to pinpoint why this game feels so off. And that's kind of why we're here. In today's video, we'll be breaking down Far Cry 6, focusing on its tone, its themes, its heroes, but more importantly, its villains. This is a critical view of Far Cry 6.
You want this? The smell of sulfur burning your nostrils,
It's fun.
Tone has never really been a talking point that I bring up in my videos, and the main reason for that is that it's really hard to fuck up a story's tone, and yet, here we are. Far Cry 6 is a game trying so hard to be something that it's not that it forgets what made this franchise great in the first place. Far Cry games, for the most part, are games where the story takes itself very seriously, as one would expect from a game handling dictators, torture, and slavery, and where the games do get a little goofy, it never draws away from the game's overall feel. Far Cry 6, whilst being a story about the death of liberty, tries to fetishize the idea of revolution to the point that the series' tone that the game upholds starts to get overshadowed by the writer's inability to read the room that they built. Far Cry 6 opens by putting you smack dab in the middle of the action and takes place weeks after the president of Yara has put forth a draft that will place 50% of the population into slave labor to farm a tobacco variant that has the ability to cure cancer. Why do I write sentences so fucking long? Through the sale of this medication, the country has been able to rebuild slowly after a previous dictatorship that ended over 50 years ago left the country in complete ruin. However, out of nowhere, the current president tries to speed up the process of healing Yara from her past wounds, and the reason behind this policy change, well, nobody knows. You play as Danny, a failed army recruit who plans to flee the country with her friends. Before you are able to, however, the army shows up to enforce the new draft and kill all who disobey. After watching your friend get shot, you sneak through the city, barely slipping past military forces, and the visuals that encapsulate the fall of society are bleak, to say the least. Soldiers executing those found hiding, watching tanks roll into the city from below, blood flowing into the sewers from the streets, soldiers declaring all those killed as fake Yarans and not real civilians, and fellow Yarans falling for the propaganda, seeing all those fleeing the tyranny as terrorists. After experiencing all of that, you finally make it to the boat and start to flee Yara, but while you're leaving the port, you get a visitor. Okay, I'm gonna stop this right here because the second that I saw President Castillo, I was confused, to say the least. Is this the game's sad attempt of linking the main character with the big bad? Because why the fuck would the president just randomly decide he wants to put his life in danger over a stupid refugee boat? But luckily, all my worries were put to rest in a way that truly got me invested in this game.
Before he was El Presidente, mi papa loved to fish. We would go out on a boat, just like this, and we would catch the fish, and then release them. He would say, it's not always about your stomach, mijo. It's about the challenge. Except when he caught a big fat, juicy marlin. You was too proud to let that fish go.
Sic tirano! You have poisoned Yara! You have poisoned your soul!
I have caught a very big fish today. Haven't I, Diego? Diego!
No way.
I have caught you, mijo. Now it's time to bring you home.
I don't want this anymore, Papa.
We have no choice.
Let them go. They can work. Make Viviro.
Truth or lies?
Truth.
They could be good workers. They could help rebuild paradise. But if you wanted them to live, you would have never set foot on this fucking boat. 13 years old. And Diego has such compassion for his people. These fish, we will catch and release.
Even Castillo's son is trying to flee Yara, really driving home how much of a monster Castillo has become. Not even his children feel safe. Diego is taken away and everyone on the boat is killed except for one. As your friend bleeds out in your arms, she tasks you with taking her place in the resistance, with her last words being,
Don't you get it? You're the lucky one, Danny. You're the lucky one.
well, no shit, dickhead. You're dead. I've been letting some of these clips play out, and it's for a reason, and you'll see why soon. So far, this story has drilled into your head that shit right now, to put into simple words, is fucked. From here, you join the resistance. The first few hours of the game are kind of treated like a tutorial segment, with you having to liberate a small island before moving on to the main game. You save people, you make new friends, you save the day, barely making it out alive, and end up losing a lot of the friends you made along the way. All of which is devastating to watch unfold. And then, after all the pain that I just showed you, after Danny experiences all of this firsthand, something changes. And it was at this moment that I knew I'd be making this video.
Do you want to kill Anton? See. Do you want to free Yara? Sure you do. But here's what Clara can't say, but you and I both know. You want this. You're a guerrilla. And for a guerrilla, the shit my pants rush of an ambush, the smell of sulfur burning your nostrils, it's
fun. It's fun.
It's fun. Watching people get slaughtered in the streets, watching their blood flow into the sewers, being the only survivor of a massacre, having your best friend die in your arms, having photos sent of your best friend's boyfriend's head caved in, and knowing that you are part of a resistance trying to stop slavery on a countrywide scale of half the land's population ruled over by a dictator is fun. Yeah, and you know what? If this was just one instance of the game fetishizing rebellion, I'd let it slide. But it's so much worse than that. You get your teeth ripped out and a cigar put out on your tongue while you scream and cry. And when you barely manage to escape, it's just shrugged off and considered like an achievement. Oh, we all get our fucking teeth ripped out. Haha, I did it myself. You're fighting in a resistance against a dictator, and one of the missions is holding a rap concert just to piss some big bads off. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This game just has no idea on what its tone is supposed to be. I understand that tone can fluctuate. However, when your tone undermines everything that you've been putting on display, it just doesn't work. Jesus Christ, sometimes I forget I'm playing a Far Cry game because all of this just reminds me of Borderlands. Fuck, they even did the name tag shit. Far Cry 6 is a game so scared to take itself seriously that it jeopardizes all the storytelling it puts forth for a little fun, completely forgetting that shooting people, sneaking around, blowing shit up, and watching characters get fleshed out is the fun. But instead of getting characters that expand on the bleak tone that the game puts forth, we get this.
Fuck you, Talia.
Oh, I thought you wanted to hide like a pussy-ass bitch.
You want to die before we get to America?
Oh, big man, palo. So a real man takes care of his chica by hiding her in a stank-ass swamp.
Fucking puta.
Coño.
Oh, that's just foreplay.
You know what? Let's talk about this.
If a dog refuses to break, then we must put them down.
Far Cry 5 was not a perfect game. However, one thing that I loved was how it laid out its progression. On the map, you have 3 big bads, beat all of the siblings, and enter the main segment of the game where you battle Joseph Seed. Each segment, while including allies and interactable characters, focused on the shenanigans of the siblings you were fighting within the region. And with the main focus on the area being the big bad, there was a sense of focus which made it a lot easier to get to know the main characters because there was a finite amount left of them standing in the fight. Far Cry 6 drops the ball here, as the game's regions are still segmented off. However, the focal point of each region isn't really the bad guys like the map would tell you. The main focal point are the allies in said areas. The goal of Far Cry 6 is to travel Yara recruiting freedom fighters, with there being 5 factions in total. Liberty, your starting faction, and no, I won't be calling them their actual name because it sounds like I'm saying libtard, so their name is Liberty for now. You have Liberty, the Monteros, the Legends, La Morale, and Maximus, each of which can be summed up in one single word: the stubborn, the old, the young, and the fucking stupid. Now, this is where the whole hit or miss deal comes into effect. You see, a lot of the factions have some really interesting characters. The only issue is that the characters are so fucking brain dead that their actions end up outshining the good writing that they are given. Look, let me give you an example. This is Paz, nickname Bicho. Bicho is a happy, wholesome little fella from Mexico who has come to Yara to support the artistry of the Maximus by hosting a radio station. He is completely harmless, couldn't possibly hurt a fly, and has never killed anyone before. He is completely new to the idea of rebellion. Late into the game, his friend gets kidnapped and he blames Bembe, the human trafficker who has been using his dark antics to help the rebellion. Bicho has never shot a gun before, let alone killed someone. But the idea of him losing one of his friends has driven him out of his comfort zone. When he hears himself over the radio from the station that he hosts, he shoots the radio. A clever symbolic metaphor showing how Bicho has snapped from his happy exterior into someone who is willing to kill for his family. And us hearing his happy voice on the radio really helps us contrast how much of a change this is for his character. leader. This is good writing and helps illustrate Bicho's turn to violence. Then out of nowhere, Bembe insults him, so he goes to kill himself. Wait, what? Let me remind you, no one has died. He isn't miserable because he lost a loved one. He's just sad because they can't find his friend. So Bicho out of nowhere wanting to kill himself is stupid here. Yeah, let me give you another example. This is Yelena. Yelena is the leader of the Morales, a group of high schoolers who are driven to rebellion after watching their classmates get executed for supporting liberty. You know this because Yelena gives a speech calling out the names of those who died while symbolically shooting the gun that executed them, explaining that if they just stand by and let Anton get away with this dictatorship, the gun will soon be turned upon them. This shows the responsibility that has been thrust upon these high schoolers and the maturity that has developed from watching the senseless death of their friends. Wow, isn't that cool? Anyway, 2 missions later, they are hosting a massive party, giving away their location, letting Anton's army sneak into their base and kills nearly all of their fucking forces and 2 of the main characters. And it's written as if this is the point in the rebellion that they should start taking shit seriously or more people will die. But that was just illustrated by Yelena like 5 minutes ago. It illustrates their maturity, but then they just become immature high schoolers hosting parties, shooting fireworks into the air, giving away their position, and then they're fucked because of it. And only now are they starting to take shit seriously? What the fuck, dude? And what's incredible is that the party is the reason they got fucked over, and later they host more fucking parties. These characters are just fucking stupid. The only faction that I can confidently say is written well with almost no flaws is the Legends, as the Legends were the rebellion fighters who fought the revolution all the way back in the 60s. They fought for everyone's freedoms, and then with those freedoms, the people just voted in the son of the previous dictator that they stopped. So understandably, the Legends are burnt out and see no point in fighting for a country that will fall again after they are gone. Also, while we're on the topic, let me say it again. The people of Yara voted in the child of a dead dictator! Fucking stupid! Quantity over quality is a surefire way to leave your characters feeling shallow and underdeveloped. There are 10 main characters by the end of the game. That's not including the 6 that got hours of screen time and then died, the 1 to 2 villains per region, plus side characters, plus side villains, and that's not including the development that Anton and Diego get through the entire game. And with the villains getting no screen time and no development, the goal of beating them never really feels rewarding. It's just like shooting another soldier. I'm not actually kidding. We get a cutscene introducing us to one of the bad guys, and 20 minutes later, I check, 20 minutes later, you shoot her in the head, and everyone hosts a party to celebrate the victory. The only issue is, it doesn't feel like a victory for the player. Okay, you know what? I was giving that whole rap concert thing a lot of shit, and I think I need to explain why. The whole point of recruiting Maximus is purely for publicity. Bicho can host a radio station to communicate to the people that the revolution will save Yara, and Paolo and Talia can make music, which will grab people's attention and will help recruit people to liberty. Now, I think it's a clever idea that the rebellion would want some kind of recruiting scheme to help people of Yara find them and make them realize that they aren't the bad guys. It's actually quite smart. But then they hang the corpses of soldiers for their amusement, which is super fucked up, because in a previous region, we had soldiers come forward and admit that the only reason they are serving in the army is to protect their family from Anton. The soldiers fighting against you hate what they're doing, but have no choice, as being in the military is the only way to feed their families and keep them safe. So when you see the rebellion doing this shit, it's kind of fucked up, because they know these people don't want this. And in the segment of the game where you're trying to make Anton's marketing manager look bad by hijacking an interview, they blow her brains out on live TV because she gave someone the wrong pronouns. Now, Paolo is trans, and obviously that statement would really piss off Talia, but just smack her on the nose or something. Don't fucking make yourself look like a dickhead. And it's fucking annoying because the game makes it seem like the people that believe in Anton saw you mindlessly blunder through a hostage situation and kill a beloved icon of Yara, and the people just go,
Yeah, the rebellion seems legit. I'm in.
There are so many characters doing so much stupid shit to the point that if the story acknowledged it and acknowledged the shit that they keep pulling, they'd actually come across as the bad guys to an extent. So in the end, you just block it all out. Far Cry 6 throws so many faces at you that you never get the chance to connect with any of them, and even if you manage to connect with them, their pissy attitudes and stupidity will definitely change your mind. And all of this results in there being no time to develop the smaller villains, resulting in your victories feeling empty. However, not all the villains share this fate. But before I can talk about them, let's talk about something that I didn't expect this game to get right.
You don't believe me? I'll show you.
The gameplay loop for Far Cry games is pretty straightforward. Shoot all of the shooty men, liberate the outpost, and take a giant hit to your social credit score. Do that a couple of hundred times and you've got a game. And while this isn't really new, there have been 2 improvements to this installment that make liberating outposts a lot more enjoyable: weapon utility and level design. In Far Cry 6, weapons have the same killing capacity as a weak fart. The reason behind that is that you need to design your weapons to have a specific role to play. Need a stealthy weapon? I'd recommend a suppressed pistol with armor-piercing rounds that helps avoid detection and ensures that the round will ignore the helmet for a quick and easy kill. Been caught and need to kill multiple enemies? Automatic assault rifle, soft target rounds, adaptable sight for different ranges, and you're good to go. Oh shit, a helicopter coming your way? May I recommend Big Gun? And for your long range, get yourself a sniper rifle, slap on the perk that gives your first bullet more damage, and you'll be good to go. Having such a variety of threats forces the player to lay out their loadout before going into a mission. Because if you get caught out by a chopper and you don't have frag rounds on a heavy weapon, you are going to get fucked. It gives weapons that kind of important role that I haven't really felt in a Far Cry game before. Everything's just been pick up the assault rifle, then pick up the better assault rifle, and so on and so on. I'm so used to when playing these games, if you're actually good at the games, you can just pick up the first gun at the beginning of the game and use it from beginning to end. But here, the game forces your hand into making choices that will help you in the future. Okay, now that we have our weapons, let's go liberate a base. And this is where the level design comes in. You can easily just run in guns blazing and you might make it out alive. But what I really love is how the very first base that you liberate teaches you how all outposts work throughout the game. While standing from a distance, you can see there's an opening on the right side of the base that you can sneak into. But the more you look around, the more entrances you'll be able to find. Naturally, with the right side of the outpost being closer, most players are just going to head to that entrance. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time you've interacted with an outpost, so you aren't sure what is climbable and what isn't. Now, you can see my hesitation at first, but in the end, I try to go to that entrance. I jump and I fall straight into the water. This design is intentional. By taking the leap of faith, you end up falling into the water and finding a third hidden entrance that, while was visible, wasn't that obvious. The game has now taught you that there will be hidden entrances that can allow you a more stealthy entrance into the outpost, as long as you put in the effort to find them. Now, at first, I still thought this was a little silly, to have an entire entrance just be fake for the sake of teaching us about observation, but it actually isn't. The commander that you have to kill stands up on the right side of the outpost, and you're unable to shoot him from anywhere except for up on the wall. So you climb up on the wall and oh, what is this? That is the grappling hook that you could have used to swing over the gap. And with that lesson, whenever you feel stuck, look up. Chances are there's going to be a vertical option. Hell, you don't even have to use this to swing the gap. You could just use this to climb up onto the wall. The choice is yours. And it's that sense of freedom that makes this game so fun. The freedom to choose your playstyle and the freedom to choose how you deal with enemies makes for a very fun and fresh Far Cry. And I can see myself coming back to this game in a few years purely on the gameplay alone. And now, it's time for the main event. You guys have been kind of waiting for this. There's no way I wasn't going to talk about it. What do I think of Anton and Diego?
What exactly is your plan? Hold hands, sing songs around the fire?
Venga. ¿Tú eres un fascista?
You call me Señor Presidente!
Can I be honest with you guys about something? I fucking hate this game. And not in the way where a game is just boring to play, because in that situation, I can save myself the pain and stop playing. No, I hate Far Cry 6 because instead of just being a mediocre game and leaving it at that, Far Cry 6 constantly tricks you into thinking you're playing a good game only to piss in your mouth. And considering Far Cry 6 isn't your mum, I can firmly say that I'm not into that. I've been referring to this game as hit or miss for a while now. And while this may be a throwaway little line for some of you, I need you guys to understand what I mean. And if I haven't been able to convince you so far of what I'm talking about, then Anton will. Truth be told, I have no idea how to even begin talking about Anton. Do I talk about his history in the country of Yara? Do I talk about Anton from his son's perspective? Or do I just lay out it from the player's perspective? Anton is such a delicate character to talk about that if I even miss one little detail, my whole argument will fall apart. So instead, let's talk about Diego. The relationship between Diego and Anton is one of a teacher and a student. Anton educates Diego on what it takes to be a leader in Yara and how the people need to be treated in order to build paradise. Anton's lessons are violent and manipulative, which is a drastic contrast to Diego, who is actually very kind at heart. Every time we see Diego, he is either pushing back on his father's ideals or doing the polar opposite of what he does. Anton wants to rule Yara. Diego wants to leave. Anton wants to stop the resistance, whilst Diego is curious about how the old resistance won. Where Anton refuses to give America the cure to cancer, Diego feels empathy and offers a reporter a dose of the cure for her dying father. Where Anton wants to destroy liberty, Diego, while being taught to hate them, at one point aids them with an escape and gives them critical information. The contrast from Anton to Diego is fascinating, but not just because of the opposites, but because of Diego's tendency to be just like his father. When he wants to learn about the history of the legends and how they won, it's portrayed as if Diego wants to know how to beat his father. But the second that the prisoner shows hostility, he strikes him down, a microcosm reflecting Anton striking down all those who fight for freedom. At the start of the game, we see Anton being very firm on people who lie. If he suspects a lie, he will ask if it is a truth or a lie. And by the end of the game, we see Diego mirroring his father.
Truth or lies?
Truth. Truth or lies?
Always truth.
Where we start our story with Diego being nothing like his father, we get to see how Anton has broken his son into another Anton. Not completely transforming him, but with his teachings being reflected in the way Diego speaks. This leaves the player guessing whether Diego has been turned or if he still despises his father. And the one thing giving you hope that Diego is on your side is the fact that he gave you critical information halfway through the game. Now, when when I first began playing Far Cry 6, I didn't like Anton's character because his motivations just made no sense. Before the game takes place, Anton had become the president and brought forth scientists that had found the cure for cancer. The medical industry brings money to the people of Yara, the military keeps everyone safe, and yet, out of nowhere, Anton goes full-blown fascist and imprisons people and starts putting them into slave camps, but just... why the fuck would you do something like this? Because he was sick. Anton has cancer and is dying. Let's go back a bit. When Anton was a child, he saw his country crumble to ruin. He describes his father as a wise but brutal leader, and before his father's vision was complete, the revolution struck him down, killing him, and threw Anton into slavery. After years of enslavement as a punishment for his father's cruelty, he was set free, and years after that was diagnosed with acute leukemia. Anton had dreamed of being a leader for Yara so he could finish his father's vision. So, as insurance, he had a son who he would mold into the future leader of Yara. But by some miracle, a scientist came forth with an experimental cure grown from the tobacco that Anton once farmed. Using the promise of a powerful, legally drug-fueled economy, Anton rose to power. He gave people jobs, enlisted soldiers to protect the people. While still suffering from leukemia, the cancer drug later named Viviro kept him healthy, and with a bright future for Yara, he made a great leader, and his vision for Yara was slowly becoming a reality. But then the Viviro stopped working. Anton's body was rejecting his treatments, and in doing so, he was starting to decay away. Knowing his vision for Yara was in jeopardy, he needed to speed up the process. We need workers for the field, stronger fertilizer. We don't have time to evacuate the fields, fertilizer while they work. The people started fighting back. We need more soldiers. How do we trick the Yarans into thinking this is for the safety of Yara? Fuck it, call it a draft. And then the game begins. Anton is a man that wants to see his country blossom from third world to first, but is so scared that if he doesn't personally see it through, it will never happen. And he knows if he's successful, no one will stop him. He has the cure for cancer. To the rest of the world, Yara is just another sweatshop, making a consumable good.
Is Viviro produced with slave labor?
Truth or lies?
The truth, of course.
Yara did not write the playbook. Slavery was your first corporation, 1800 to 1860. Cotton was your #1 export. Grown by whom?
Just a second.
Slaves. 4 million Americans worth $3.5 billion. The #1 asset in your economy was people who look like me. What is that called?
A history lesson?
A head start. Replaced by a billion-dollar prison industry that pays its inmates pennies.
America is not alone.
Correct. Children sew our clothes. Sweatshops build our phones, and Viviro saves millions of lives. Do you think that those lives care where it comes from?
Anton is a monster, there is no doubt about that, but the fact that you can see why he does these things, it's fascinating and it's really well written. Later in the game, we find out Anton is dying, but before and even after that, every time we see Anton molding Diego into a leader, it's always after the death of an important character in his army. A subtle detail illustrating that Anton, the closer he gets to death and losing, tries to teach his son more and more so that he can take his place. Anton's speeches are powerful and bold. He is a man of many words, and his actions reflect those words. He briefly talks about his grandmother and how she would have made a great leader if Yara back in the day wasn't so against women being in roles of authority. And later in the game, we see that he intentionally put a woman in charge of his entire army. And it's little things like that that really flesh out Anton's beliefs. Everything he says, he believes. The game is finally coming to a close when you confront Anton. Anton says goodbye to his son and asks you if you'll be able to protect his son from those who would want to villainize Diego for his actions. Anton was 13 when his father was killed. Diego is 13 years old. And you can see when Anton realizes that. When Anton's father died, he was beaten and enslaved for over 15 years. Anton was 13, and so is Diego. And so, Anton kills Diego so that Diego won't suffer like he did. He proceeds to kill himself, and that's it. That was Anton and Diego. Diego was innocent, potentially turned malignant, and Anton was a good man turned monster out of fear of failing his father's vision. A vision that he did not want his son to burden. And that's just... fuck, man. That's just really well done. Hey guys. Hey guys, guess what? Yep. This is the part of the video where I tell you that Anton fucking sucks. Anton's character works because he is innocence turned rotten. That's the entire point of the character, because it reflects Diego's innocence slowly turning rotten as well. But the game fucks all of this up by letting you know that before the draft was put into place, and before Viviro stopped curing him, that he was financing scientists to do human experiments on children and the homeless to make Viviro, making the one admirable trait of Anton's completely null and void. Instead of him being a good guy from a dark past turned villain, he is a villain turned villain with a side serving of slave camp. Are you fucking joking me? Also, they end Diego's character with a callback to a character that had 2 minutes of screen time.
You're the lucky one, Danny. You're the lucky one.
It's okay, Danny. You were the lucky one.
Making Diego's last words mirror a death scene you didn't care about without Diego even being there to even know this line is more fucking jarring than an ad break in the middle of a set. Donate to the Patreon, get early access, talk to me on Discord, all of the tiers give you all the rewards no matter how much you pledge. I'm really sorry, but I think I earned this plug. These videos take a really long time to make. Now back to the video. Just like every other character in this game, even Anton eventually starts doing shit out of character that is just fucking brain dead. Anton is calculated, manipulative, and dangerous. You never know what he's got up his sleeve, but all of that gets dropped in the dinner scene. Anton kidnaps the leader of Liberty after enacting a ceasefire, leading you into a stealth mission trying to break into his sanctum. With the help of a few friends, you manage to kill the soldiers and make it to where Clara is being held, which leads to Anton promising Clara safety if Danny, that being you, joins his army as his new commander.
You know, when I captured Clara, I thought I had won. But it took my son to show me what was right before my eyes. You are Libertad.
I'm just a guerrilla.
No lies at my table.
You're a legend. They tell stories about you.
Come on.
You are their hope. And now,
You will become my hope.
You're kidding, right?
You still don't get it. I told you to leave. This is your fault.
You want her to live. You will accept the rank of general.
my army, you will be my hope, my legend,
My Danny Rojas!
He understands that the people look up to you as you've been the only one traveling Yara recruiting for Liberty. If you join Anton, Liberty will lose faith and collapse. It's a pretty smart idea. But before you can make a choice, one of your buddies gets impatient waiting for a clear shot on Anton and goes to kill Diego. Danny, knowing that Diego is just an innocent kid, she jumps in front of Diego, saving his life and almost killing herself in the process.
I'm taking the shot.
One no!
Anton just witnessed you save his son's life. Now let's play a little game. What do you think Anton does after witnessing all of that unfold? does he A. let Clara go as an honorable gesture, trading one saved life for another? B. After witnessing your protective nature towards Diego, uses his son's life as a hostage manipulation tool to force your hand into joining his army? Realizes that the rebellion really does just want to save life and starts to contemplate if his methods are flawed? Or D. Realizing Diego didn't get shot, then shoots Diego in the arm to use him as a campaigning ploy to convince Yara that Liberty are fine with child murder after trying to kill his son. Let's take a look.
One no!
So, yeah. So he shoots his only bargaining tool. Why? I don't know why this pisses me off so much, but I just can't understand the logic of any of this. The logic in this scene is fucking stupid. He wasn't pissed because you promised no backup, because he knew you and the rebellion were coming for Clara. You never made that promise. So you having backup is not new information to him. And it's not like he thought his son was dead so he decided to shoot Clara, because he calls out to Diego the second the rebellion opens fire after Clara dies. Like, why? You know what? No. You know what? No. Fuck this. I'm done talking about this game, okay? I'm done. Fuck Far Cry 6. This was the one element that made me like your game, Ubisoft. And you blew it. The last 3 Far Cry games have been shit. And it hurts me to say it, but so is this one. Take the hint that I couldn't, and stop buying these games. Hello? Yeah, I'm just wrapping up the video now. Yeah, dude, I know, it fucking sucks. What? What do you mean the DLC's good? God damn it! Now I have to make another video on Far Cry!
This is Central Command contacting Moon Base. Please respond immediately. Moon Base, this is Central Command. Please respond. Moon Base, we've had a distress signal encounter. Please respond immediately when you require it. Terminal responding. No one contact. Try to make contact. No one's responding. Yes, sir. Scanning for Wi-Fi. Fine, no one. Sir. Contact the General Waxoff to give this report. Watch signals concluded. Status